This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Start of something beautiful, a love I've never known before. This feels so real. The day you swept me off my feet, better than I ever wanted. The one that I never saw coming, and I never want this to end. It's okay.
The following program is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, you so know it that even on a Tuesday, it does not matter who is sitting here. What matters is who is sitting on that other side of the quadrant. Anyways, how are you? I hope everything is good and grand as we are getting closer and closer to the end of all of it. Anyways, today is Tuesday, December the 19th of 2023, day 353rd of the year, and only 12 days left to go. Oh, that came out backwards. Only 12 days left to go. That's it. 12 days. Yeah, the countdown to extinction continues. Anyways, we are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM. And then we are hanging out with our friends and colleagues over there.
Radio USA, Canada, UK.
Oh, yes, hanging out with our friends at Radio Big as they get to do all the fun stuff that they do. And we are simulcasting across the multiverse known as Safety FM. Always a fun time when we get to do that because as we hang out with the Radio Big people, as we're doing our stuff here, well, that just means that we get to hang out with a lot more people. So, with that being said, why would you not want to do that? So if you're not familiar with what we do around here, it's simple. It's a simple thing. We talk about safety in the news. So what does that mean? We talk about some aspects of safety. We talk about some aspects of the news, and then we kind of combine them all into a multiple equation of everything that is going on. That's how it goes. That's the layout of the Lando. That's it. That's the show. You get to interact if you want to. Callinradio.com. That's the website. Once you get there, audio messaging, video messaging, and text messaging. Combination of it all because, hey, I try to make it simple. And I have to tell you, I truly do love you because you try to make this such a simple process by mostly doing text messaging. Yes, what I love. Because I guess we've kind of come to the conclusion that over years and years and years and years that I'm just terrible at answering the phone. I'm terrible at answering video calls. I'll put it to you that way. So that's the way that it goes. So with that being said, here's the gig. Here's the motivation. Here's what we're going to do. We're just going to talk. We're going to bring some professional broadcasters in. They're going to talk some more. We're going to talk with them talking because that's what we do. And that's it. It's a good time. It's a good time as we hang. So it's a 3-hour show. Let's start off with that. Hour number 1 is Rated R Safety Show, only focusing on the stuff that we talk about, safety in the news. Hour 2 and 3, well, it's mostly music related. world of music, world of entertainment. That's what we talk about. Hour number one's the only one on video. Hour number one's the only one on podcast as well. So here's the great thing. If you're in the middle of this thing and you can't finish it, we put it on a podcast. It takes about 3 hours to process our podcast on the way that we do it, because we try to do it the moment I get off the air here. That's the way that it comes about. And that's it. That's a simple process. That's what we do. This is the lingo. So with that being said, why don't we get into some of the stuff that we need to get done? Why don't we get into some of the things that you want to know about? Because we're going to give you the headlines of what is happening with the news right now. And then we'll come back, we'll talk, we'll chitter-chatter, and then go from there. Yeah, and at some point, there's a main story. What I liked about yesterday is the opposition operation conversation. A lot of people want to talk about that, which it got me excited. I'm not going to lie, because it is amazing to me that we don't realize that that's what we're doing. I don't know if I want to continue talking about this, but we'll figure something out as we go, as I never know what the hell we want to talk about next. That's the way that it goes around here. Anyways, with that being said, let's get you into the news. No, seriously.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
NBC News Radio, I'm Mark Mayfield. Pope Francis has approved a ruling that will allow same-sex couples to receive blessings under certain conditions. Michael Kastner explains.
The Vatican announced the landmark decision on Monday, saying priests can give the blessings if they are not given as part of regular church rituals. Pope first opened the door to the possibility of blessings for same-sex couples back in October. The Vatican said the blessings are a sign that God welcomes all. I'm Michael Kastner.
The Biden administration will roll out one more package of military aid for Ukraine before the end of the year. That's what National Security Council spokesman John Kirby told reporters on Monday. This comes as the administration is warning the U.S. will run out of money to provide military support to Ukraine if Congress doesn't take action. The Senate is currently negotiating a deal for additional funding and border security. Republicans say that Ukraine aid will have to be paired with a deal on immigration. A nonprofit that tracks threats against Jewish communities says there were more than 200 false bomb threats and swatting calls over the weekend. Lisa Taylor has more.
The Secure Community Network says those incidents targeted facilities in California, Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, and Washington, among other states. Swatting refers to prank calls to authorities in order to send a SWAT team to someone under a false pretense a crime is happening. I'm Lisa Taylor.
The late Justice Sandra Day O'Connor is set to be laid to rest today. The funeral will be held at Washington National Cathedral, where President Biden and Chief Justice John Roberts are scheduled to speak. She was honored at the Supreme Court Monday, where she lay in repose inside the building's Great Hall. O'Connor, who was the first woman to sit on the Supreme Court, died on December 1st at the age of 93. And Southwest Airlines is agreeing to a record-setting civil penalty over last year's holiday travel nightmare. The Department of Transportation says the airline has agreed to pay a $140 million fine. That's 30 times more than any other fine for violating consumer protection laws. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
Safety never sounded so terrible. Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. Over 100 people have been killed and dozens more injured in an earthquake in a mountainous part of northwestern China. A volcano is erupting in southwest Iceland after weeks of earthquake activity. Britain is set to join an international coalition to protect ships sailing through the Red Sea after a series of attacks, and Marvel has cut ties with Jonathan Majors after the actor was convicted of assault.
Rated R Safety Show. Sarcastic? Never.
U.S. officials say passport processing times have returned to pre-pandemic norms as the holiday travel rush gets underway. Natalie Migliore has more.
At the height of the pandemic, some people were waiting up to 3 months to get their passport applications processed. Now, the U.S. Department of State says passport applications are being processed within 8 weeks for normal service and 3 weeks for expedited service. The department says it received an all-time high number of applications between October of 2022 and September of this year, issuing over 24 million books and cards in that time. Only 5% of Americans had passports in 1990, and that number now stands at 48%. I'm Natalie Migliore.
5 children are dead following a house fire on the western Arizona border. The Bullhead City Police Department says flames broke out in a 2-story duplex over the weekend with the kids inside, who ranged in age from as young as 2 to 13 years old. 4 of the children were siblings and another was a relative visiting the family. Investigators noted there weren't any adults at home when the fire started. The cause of the blaze is under investigation. Actor Jonathan Majors has been dropped by Marvel after being found guilty in his domestic violence trial in New York City. Brian Shook reports.
Major's character Kang the Conqueror was set to be a major figure in the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward, with the MCU building future story arcs around the character. Kang the Conqueror most recently appeared in the second season of the Disney Plus series Loki. A jury found Majors guilty of 1 count of assault and 1 count of harassment. He was also found not guilty on another count of assault and 1 of aggravated harassment. The 34-year-old was accused of assaulting his ex-girlfriend. I'm Brian Shook.
And a spin-off of Wednesday that focuses on Uncle Fester is in the works at Netflix. The Hollywood Reporter says a streamer is in early development for the series that centers on Wednesday's uncle, played by Fred Armisen. Mark Mayfield, NBC News Radio.
Listen to our host of the Rated R Safety Show self-implode on our airwaves, only on Safety FM.
Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces. Just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month, and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
Listen to our host of the Rated R Safety Show. Self-implode on our airwaves. Only on Safety FM.
Oh, yes, we're talking about some self-implosion on the airwaves here as we are 15 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out on this lovely Tuesday. Yeah, lovely indeed, I may add. It is so lovely, I don't even know what to do with myself. It's already fantastic. I don't know where you're at, and let me give you some cold weather Florida scenario for a moment. Currently this morning, the low is 48, the high is 60. I have been outside, of course, just to get here. But the way that it is, it's limited in regards to what the involvement with people because it is so damn early sometimes. But it's amazing on just the bundling that people do. Like when you see somebody wearing a parka, you expect it to be super cold outside. You don't expect it to be in the 40s, but hey, that's the Floridian here. I'm talking about it. You know what I didn't do earlier? We didn't talk about what was going to trend. You want to know something? Those things happen. And how weird would it be now if I told you what was trending about what was coming up? How about we just get into it? I mean, do you want some highlights first or do you just want to go? I think we just go. I think it sounds better that way. So let's talk about it. The legal team overseeing FTX's bankruptcy, headed by the same guy who wound down the Enron one, John Ray III, filed paperwork over the weekend to begin the process of repaying creditors. This is just the beginning of what the brutally long process, although the new FTX team has submitted the proposal outlining the order in which the creditors will be get their money back. A court has to approve it, and anyone waiting in can sue either to move up or down the protection of their position. So that's according to CoinDesk. So what do you think? So looking out for the little guy is maybe the way we should talk about this. So far, XTS has been able to sell off assets and claw back billions in lost customer funds, but there's still $1.42 billion in the hole. So not everyone will be able to be made whole. To deploy the team of lawyers, investigators to recover those, the cost was $1.45 billion, and that's with the B just in case. One crypto blog estimates that it works out to about 1.3 million a day in fees. That's according to Crypto Basics. So let's think about this. If you're doing some recovery stuff, it definitely sounds like $1.3 million a day. You can make that. That's the way to go.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
I don't know if trying to be entertaining has anything to do with it, that's for sure. It definitely has something to do with logic and thinking. Maybe that's more of what we're talking about. That is for sure. So let's take a look around at some other things because that is what we do around here. No doubt about that. Jeff Bezos' space company Blue Origin scrapped a scheduled launch on Monday over unspecified error. Yeah, that's an unspecified error. Let's see. The position on X, owned by billionaire pissing match rival Elon Musk, Blue Origin vaguely noted that the ground system issue that caused the delay, and they're going to try to do it later this week. Unlike Musk, SpaceX, Blue Origin has not put humans in orbit. This launch would have carried scientific equipment, but no passengers. So what do you think here? It is the race to space. No doubt about it. So let's talk about this one's customs officials in San Diego say that they've busted a drug smuggling operation that stuffed about 3,500 pounds worth of meth and cocaine into giant vats of jalapeno paste. The unidentified 28-year-old driver brought the haul over the border, but no word yet of the role of the drug ring. Officials say that the K-9 unit first sounded the alarm over the suspicious cargo. This is according to NBC News. So there you go. What do you think about when you hear this? Does it get you excited? Do you start going, holy monkeys, that's a lot of jalapeno stuff? I'm just saying. Duh. Okay, so there you go. Let's continue talking about this one. Late last year, an internal system error grounded thousands of Southwest airline flights across the country. stranding an estimated 2 million people over the holiday. The airline has agreed to pay $140 million settlement organized by the Department of Transportation. Of that, $35 million is in fines, which the DOT says is the largest consumer protection violation penalty ever paid by an airline. Much on the rest of the settlement went from the form of frequent flyer points paid out to affected customers worth about $300 each. The airline also agreed to set aside $90 million in vouchers for customers affected by the late delays in the future. This is according to AP reports. So, there you go, as we are talking. No doubt about that. Anyways, a Texas woman was startled to find a stowaway in her Christmas tree. There had been many stories of birds, that even squirrels hitching a ride of people's homes. Not many of them been reported by, a possum. Yeah, well, Brett Ingram was said that when hearing a sneeze and some other squeaking noise, but initially thought that it was just in her head, then the noises continued and she started to search for the culprit, thinking that it may be her cat had brought in a mouse. While looking around in the living room, she spotted a long-necked, rat-looking tail and a large breathing ball of gray fur in her Christmas tree. After speaking to a friend, the animal rehab volunteer Brett said that she was advised on how to best remove the creature, but that it proved that it would be easier said than done with a stronger grip of the branches. Of course, once she got him she released him. Ingram says that he squirmed out of her hands and ran under her couch, and that's when the chase was on. Eventually, she was able to catch the animal and calm him down before releasing him back into the wild. This is according to the New York Post. Here's my thought process. They have service providers that take care of that stuff. You don't have to do it yourself. I would just call somebody because there's no way that I am messing around with a possum. No doubt about it. I don't care what the hell's going on. I am kind of a weirdo when it comes to stuff like that. And if I don't have to mess around with some wild animal, because that's what it is to me, I'm not doing it. So there you go. Plain and simple. I'm just not doing it. Yeah, so there you go. Anyways, let's do this real quick. It is around that time. Let's bring some Erin Royale into our future and let her tell us about some money matters.
Nearly 2/3 of Americans don't expect their personal finances to improve in 2024, including more than a quarter who believe their situation will get worse. CNBC's Pippa Stevens reports.
A new survey from Bankrate finds inflation is the most commonly cited reason, along with flat or reduced income and changing interest rates. Of those who have a financial goal for next year, the most popular are paying down debt, getting a higher paying job or another source of income, and saving more for emergencies.
The NBA is doubling down on their investment into gambling. The league is taking on an equity stake in a Texas-based company called N-Venue that's at the forefront of something called micro-betting.
The bet that can be placed during the game and you get the outcome during the game. Simple things like, will Dak throw to CeeDee Lamb for a touchdown on this possession?
The company's Jeremy Jones predicts that their deal with the NBA will someday lead to longer viewing times. Even if a team is getting blown out, fans can keep betting. It went live with the NBA on League Pass during the finals. Southwest Airlines is agreeing to a record-setting civil penalty over last year's holiday travel nightmare. The Department of Transportation said the airline has agreed to pay $140 million in fines. That's 30 times more than any other fine for violating consumer protection laws. During the year-end holiday travel period last year, Southwest canceled almost 17,000 flights, leaving 2 million travelers stranded. The settlement also requires Southwest to create a fund that will be used to pay or provide travel vouchers to passengers whose flights are delayed or canceled due to a factor in the airline's control. A new report on home ownership finds that Mississippi has the nation's largest number of homeowners without disaster insurance. The survey, conducted by LendingTree, listed the number of Mississippi homeowners without flood, fire, or hazard insurance at 22%, which is higher than other disaster-prone states like Louisiana, Florida, and California. Consumer and business news, Erin Royale, NBC News Radio.
Okay, thank you, Erin Royale, for the countdown there in regards of what people are doing with insurance. It makes it pretty interesting because I will tell you, I'm no expert when it comes to the insurance industry, but geez, the more and more I read about it, especially when it comes to home ownership, 79% of actual lawsuits, from what I remember reading, come out of Florida about insurance companies not wanting to settle. or some bogus bullshit of what that ends up happening. But probably that's a conversation for another day. Probably not should be having that when in litigation. Anyway, so let's continue talking a little bit more about what I was able to find with the numbers. The Dow was mostly flat on the day, closing around 37,306. The S&P was up 21 points to close at 4,740, and the NASDAQ increased by 91 points to close at 14,905. West Texas Intermediate closed at $72 a barrel, and Brent crude was at $78 a barrel. The national average price of a gallon of gas was $3.06. And there was more than 3,990 flights delayed within, into, and out of the United States on Monday, with more than 550 cancellations. Tonight's Mega Million drawing will be for $41 million jackpot or a $20.4 million cash payout. So if you want to play the game, well, you have the opportunity to do so. So there you go. Anyways, let's continue talking about some other things that are going on. And there was one that was breaking news yesterday. And I saw it all over the place, and I'm not sure if you've heard of this, but I definitely want to talk about it because I think it's an interesting, how can I say this without sounding so rude when it comes to this? But there was some stuff going on yesterday with Apple. Yeah, with Apple in particular, with their Apple Watch. And let's talk about it. So Apple will be stopping the sale of the Series 9 and the Ultra 2 watch. Patent dispute over the device blood oxygen monitor will be keeping the watch off a shelf starting December the 21st. Some experts believe that pulling the watches just before Christmas could encourage last-minute buyers. Take a listen.
If Apple can boost sales not only of the Apple Watch, but of the higher-end versions of the Apple Watch, those are the two models here that we're really talking about, the Series 9 and the Ultra, well, that's a very good thing for Apple.
The NBC tech contributor Johanna Stern, the United States International Trade Commission, recently ruled that the tech giant had illegally incorporated the blood oxygen technology from medical tech company Masimo. Apple stock has taken a hit today following the announcement. So really that was taking a hit yesterday following that announcement. So we'll get to see what exactly happens next. It'll be some interesting times as we move forward. No doubt about it. Anyways, take a listen to this. If you have a pet, it's pretty much a guarantee that you'll pick a holiday gift for them. Bree Tennis explains.
PetSmart says the average pet owner will drop $122 on their pets this holiday season. MarketWatch says that's about 20% of the total shopping budget. They say it's all part of a bigger trend of humanization of pets, which is big with millennials and Gen Zers. 58% of pet owners say they'll splurge on toys, 39% on clothing, and 23% on a visit to the spa for their pets. I'm Bree Tennis.
Hold on, $120 some odd on a pet? Wow, that's crazy. What if you have more than one, or is that just equivalent to all across the board? Maybe that's the question. Anyways, take a listen to this. Coming out of Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson is blasting Texas Governor Greg Abbott following the death of a 5-year-old migrant boy that's staying in the Pilston shelter. The mayor says that the rogue buses from Texas have been randomly dropping off new arrivals to Chicago.
They're just dropping all people anywhere. Do you understand how raggedy and how evil that is? You're just going to put people on a bus and just take them somewhere and drop them off in the middle of the night?
Johnson said the bus drivers are no longer dropping off migrants at the city landing zones in response to the harsher penalties for bus owners who violate the new city ordinance. Abbott has been busing migrants to Chicago from other liberal cities for the past 15 months. So there you go. What do you think is going to happen there? Let's keep it in Chicago for a moment. Chicago aldermen are moving forward with the resolution calling on the White House and Congress to pass the ceasefire for Gaza. The measure was sponsored by the First Ward Alderman Daniel Laspata.
We are authorized, I think we are demanded to speak on every issue that demands attention from our constituents, that hurts and impacts their lives.
The Committee on Health and Human Relations voted yesterday to recommend the resolution to full council's next month. Full council? That sounds kind of weird. The Chicago Jewish Community Relations Council and Anti-Defamation League Midwest called the measure reckless, irresponsible, and dangerous. So there you go. Some stuff to talk about as we are talking. So we talked about this earlier. in the week. So let's talk about it again. Wildlife officials have released the first 5 gray wolves into Colorado high country as part of the state wolf reintroduction program. Colorado Parks and Wildlife Wolf Conservation Program manager Eric Odell says that it's a horrific day in history. Okay, he didn't say the horrific thing. He said that it's a historic day. Take a listen.
It's just a relief to see all the hard work that we've put into this project and seeing the beginning of the restoration of wolves.
The wolves were released on Monday into the forest in Grand County. Through the exact location hasn't been publicly released. The wolves were captured in Oregon, and a crowd watched as they ran to their crates and out into the wilderness. I almost said the wildness. And the release was attended by the governor and comes after the judge denied the request from the state cattle industry to delay the release of the wolves. Colorado Parks and Wildlife Wolf Conservation Program manager Eric Odell says that they'll be tracking the wolves with monitoring their progress. Take a listen.
We are looking for several things biologically. We're looking at how they move, what their gait looks like. And so we're looking at just to make sure that there's good health in the animals.
Yeah, some good health in the animals will definitely be something important to take a look at. Anyways, fire at a deli in the Bronx Monday night ends with 3 people hurt and an e-bike once again found near the rubble. Andrew Whitman has more.
To be clear, officials still don't know what caused the blaze that broke out around 7 at the deli on Kingsbridge Road near University Avenue in the Kingsbridge Heights section. They do know the fire started in the deli, then spread to the apartments above it. The blaze went to 3 alarms before it was put down. 3 people were injured. Channel 7 reports 2 civilians refused treatment. No word from the fire department about firefighter injuries. That e-bike was found nearby but has not been linked to the fire. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
I got a question. Why would you refuse, to be taken care of? It's kind of a weird one. I'm just saying out loud. I did say that, but kind of a strange thing to say. Hey, now, I'm good. Let's continue. Anyways, the Wayne Wasteland Community Schools in Westland, Michigan. Board of Education is now laying off staff members after 20 employees had received their notice that they were losing their jobs. The school board rescinded those notices and put the decision off until the meeting in January, pleasing this teacher.
This is probably one of the most disappointing times in this district's history, unfortunately. But I think on a positive note, the community and the employees are standing strong.
The school district is several $1 million short in their budget. Teachers say that in public comment did not have much confidence in the school board president and superintendent. Also, the teachers begged the school board to rescind the layoffs. Take a listen.
I'm begging you guys. I'm begging you for these guys. I got 31 and a half years in it. It don't matter to me. But you know what? These guys matter. These are real people. And they're going to be losing their jobs.
So there you go. 31 years, it doesn't matter to me. Well, it should matter. You've committed 31 years. I'm just saying. There you go. Anyway, so let's talk about it. It is that time to do that thing that we do.
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
So let's talk about it because that is the clusterfuck that happens most of the times that most people don't want to talk about. And it is that right there that we're going to talk about. And you're going, what did was there an F-bomb there? Yes, there was. But let me explain here. Here is what happens. Here is what takes place. And I'm not saying it's good, it's bad, or it's indifferent, but I want you to take a listen. I want you to take a gander. I want you to take a glance here. You did this weird thing, number one, where you were going for layoffs around the holidays. I'm not saying good. I'm not saying bad. I'm not saying indifferent, but it is a weird time to try to pull that move off. I'm just saying in general, keep that in mind. Number two, by all of a sudden you changing your mind and saying, hey, there is some rescinding of what we were doing, it gets weird. Because think about this now. And I'm not saying people can't change their mind. I'm just saying it gets weird right now because of the following situation. You rescinded this, and now it kind of makes you look like you're not very committed to what you're needing to do. And I'm not saying let's lay some people off. That's not the case. But think about it from an upper management standpoint and the messaging that gives across the organization. I have a friend of mine that works at an organization that when I talk to them, they reference all the time that their upper management kind of sways with the wind. All of a sudden, the wind blows one way and everything's starting to go that direction. If all of a sudden the upper management hears the wind's blowing the other way, everything goes that other direction. And it kind of puts you in a very strange spot depending on where you're at. If you're in upper management, of course you can change. You can do all these things all the time and flip it around, and it's perfectly fine. Nobody's going to have a lot of questions. But if you're in the middle management, you're in that group right in the between there, that you're not upper management, but you're the ones that are interacting directly with the field. Well, it gets kind of weird because all of a sudden you come in and you're saying, hey, this is what is going on. This is the lay of the land. And all of a sudden, the wind is blowing. It's going the opposite direction. And now everything's changed. So this middle manager now is in this weird spot. And here's the problem. If you don't talk to the team members and explain to people exactly how the lay of the land works, sometimes people get super pissed off. And I'm not just saying pissed off. I'm saying throw a cape on it and make them super pissed because that's what's just happened. And these are the things that we need to think about. These are the things that we need to talk about in our organizations. And now you're going to sit here and go, well, hold on. Don't you normally talk about safety stuff? That's exactly what we can tie this into. Think about this. All of a sudden, you have an issue inside of the organization, and all of a sudden, there is a safety issue and there is an operational issue. The moment you let that operational issue supersede your safety issue, guess what you just thrown out the window? Guess what? All of a sudden now all these people that were looking at you going, okay, this is the way that it is. This is what we've been told. This is what's going down. And all of a sudden you change everything because the wind started blowing the opposite direction because of the upper management. That middle management is in that weird spot. And I will tell you, the people that are in the field will not understand if this is not described to them very vividly. And I'm not trying to get super excited and super emotional this morning, but it's one of these things that this is where the pressure comes in. This is one of these things that when you start thinking about it, that middle manager is getting it. And they're getting it from both directions. All of a sudden, you have went to the team members that are in the field and explained to them, this is what's going down, and all of a sudden, now the upper management has changed everything. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that you're compensated for the job that you do, but what is going to be the belief that the field people, that the field team members are going to have in the middle management now that you have flipped and flopped? And I am not saying people can't change their minds about things. That is not what I'm trying to get to. But what I'm trying to get to here is look at this now. All of a sudden, it's kind of a strange thing. Now, think about this. I want to flip the script for a moment, okay? Let's flip the script. Let's say, for instance, you have an employee that they have put in their 2 weeks' notice, and all of a sudden, they rescind their 2 weeks' notice. They want to pull it back and say, oh, no, I've changed my mind. I have decided to stay. What normally happens? Normally, let's go, well, we've already filled the spot, or we've already hired somebody. It is on very rare occasions, unless they're a superstar, are they allowed to stay, or if you can't just find anyone. So think about it in that particular fashion. Boy, is that going to be an interesting one to think about it when it's all said and done.
Oops. What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with the viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You are listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
It's always amazing to me on how technology changes, and so does the environment that we're in. And cyber criminals will do everything they can to take advantage of a system. If you don't own a home, you have nothing to fear about what I'm about to tell you. But if you own a home like me and you don't guard it with home title lock, you're inviting home title fraud. One of the fastest growing crimes. Cyber thieves around the world know our home values are sky high at the moment, and that makes us a target. The crime is scary simple. Let me explain it to you real quick. A cyber thief simply forges your name on a property sale form and refiles it. That's it. Now he or she is on the deed of your home and you have no idea that you're a victim. Then the version takes out a loan on your home and vanishes, leaving you to prove to the police that you didn't commit bank fraud. Home Title Locks puts a virtual barrier around your home title. The instant they detect any kind of tampering or anybody messing around, they help shut it down. Look, if you have equity in your home, you need to guard it the best way that you can. Some people might even go as far as guarding it with their life. Go to HometitleLock.com and register your address to see if you already are a victim. And enter the code RADIO. That's RADIO. That's the code RADIO for 30 days free of protection. That's code RADIO at HometitleLock.com.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hacky? Safety trainers still training a warped version. How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywords.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're going to go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you going to do? You're going to go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Listen to our host
Of the Rated R Safety Show.
self-implode on our airwaves, only on Safety FM.
Never felt like this. My heart is racing next to you, and I can tell you feel it too.
Okay, here we are, 44 minutes past the top of the hour. We are still hanging out here on the Rated R Safety Show. You know, getting to do all the lovelies, all the lovely things we get to do around here. There is no doubt about it that we're having some fun this morning. Even on the Tuesday before Christmas. There you go. Yeah, still a Rated R Safety Show. This right here that you're listening to music-wise, This is Pacific. Song titled WYAF. And you can imagine what that stands for. With you all forever. Yeah, you know what I was going for. Anyways, with that being said, that song's readily available on Apple Music, Spotify, and YouTube Music. That will get you moving and grooving. So some good times for sure as we are hanging out. Give that a little streamer Eber action if you'd like. Would like to thank Pacific for allowing us to play that here on the Rated R Safety Show. No doubt about that. That is for sure. Anyways, with that being said, let's continue talking about some other things that are going on inside of this anomaly that we called life. So let's talk about the most important thing that I will ever tell you in my lifetime. And that's about my friends at To Write Love on Her Arms. No matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected to help. To Write Love on Her Arms wants you to know that people have been where you are now, and things can get better. Healing is possible. All you have to do to find out more information is go to TWLOHA.com. Once you get there, go all the way to the far right-hand side, click on the section that says Find Help. I'm telling you, you click on that section, you find help, you run with it. You go with it. You figure out exactly what's there and what you might be looking for. There's all kinds of information. Anything related to addiction, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, self-injury, suicide, trauma, grief support resources. That's just to name a few. There's all kinds of stuff on there. All you have to do, like I said, TWLOHA.com, click on the section that says Find Help. I will tell you, it will change your life. No doubt about it. Let's continue talking about some things that are going on inside of the multiverse, because that is what we do here on this lovely little show. And so let's talk about it. So it's time to put the fork in your late evening eating habits. A new study of the University of in Paris has found that people who eat dinner after 9 p.m., well, who the hell does that, have a 28% chance of increased risk of suffering from a stroke or a mini stroke. In fact, for every hour after 8 p.m. that someone ate their dinner, chances of having a stroke increased by 8%. The scientists say that eating your evening meal between 5 and 7 p.m. is ideal, according to the research. And then the later your meal, the less food you should consume. That tends to happen in my house, not by choice. I have teenagers, I'm just saying. Also, on another side, Uber Eats has released their annual Uber Eats Craving Report, detailing the most popular, unusual, and surprising orders of the year, and some people unexpected requests, including combos like seaweed and pasta sauce, steak and jelly, cottage cheese and mustard, condensed milk and avocado, and butter and pickled onions. The most interesting food and drink pairing were ribeye steak and vodka, cheeseburger and frozen margarita, chicken and frozen pina colada, lobster tail and apple whiskey, and wait for it, tamales and daiquiris. I have no problem whatsoever with the last one. I have to tell you, I have no problem whatsoever with the majority of the weird encounters because they sound all pretty normal from where I'm from. I don't know. Do you think that there were some weird anomalies there? So, I don't know. So let's talk about this. So much for the power of positive thinking. We are often told that you should look on the bright side of things, but it turns out that if there is one situation in life where you should not be optimistic, it's when it comes to money-making decisions. Researchers from the University of Bath conducted a study that found that being too optimistic may lead to your poor financial decisions. And while there is definitely no shortage of self-help books available which preach about the power of positive thinking, and looking into the link between optimism and overall happiness, the researchers determined that unrealistic optimistic financial expectation can lead to excess levels of consumption and debt, as well as insufficient savings. If you can also lead to founding business that are doomed to fail. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm afraid of and how I'm doing so far. How about this kind of optimism? Thinking I am positively that I'm broke. Is that an optimistic portion or not? I have to tell you, anytime that you're making a financial decision that's going to put you into debt, that's probably not a house or some severe medical issue. I don't know if it's really worth getting into debt for. I know. I need to be careful what I say there.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
I'm trying to be something. I don't know if entertaining is exactly what came to mind, but let's talk about it anyways. Take a listen to this because I think we need to talk about it. A nonprofit tracks threats against Jewish community, says there was more than 20, or matter of fact, hold on, more than 200 false bomb threats and swatting calls over the weekend. Lisa Taylor has more.
The Secure Community Network says those incidents targeted facilities in California, Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, and Washington, among other states. Swatting refers to prank calls to authorities in order to send a SWAT team to someone under a false pretense a crime is happening. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Okay, so I don't know where you're hanging out, if you're watching this on video, if you're doing the radio aspect, if you're doing the podcast thing, but swatting became a popular thing at one point on Twitch, and we do hang out on Twitch and do some stuff over there. But it's amazing on just the level of people doing this stuff. And when you say 200 of them over the weekend alone, think about that. That is just moving and grooving all the time. So there you go. What a weird thing. Anyways, two bills called the Gabby Petito Act are being filed in the Florida legislature in response to the New York woman murdered. Sarah Lee Kessler has more.
Gabby Petito, a 22-year-old from Suffolk County, was murdered by her Florida fiancé Brian Laundrie in 2021. Gabby's parents are suing the Moab, Utah Police Department, claiming they failed to recognize that their daughter's life was in danger when they responded to a domestic abuse report. Now two bills have been filed in Florida's legislature requiring police to conduct a lethality assessment when they respond to domestic violence incidents to hopefully save other victims. Sarah Lee Kessler, NBC News Radio.
Okay, thank you, Sarah Lee, for that information right there on what is going on, because we definitely need to know. We'll see what exactly goes on moving forward for there. Also, federal prosecutors say that a woman who sold the identity of dozens to collect COVID-19 relief benefits is headed to prison. Phil Farrar has the latest.
32-year-old Alexandra Crystal Jackson pleading guilty for stealing and applying for benefit payments from California's Employment Stimulus Checks program during the height of COVID. She'll spend more than 2.5 years in prison. The U.S. government says Jackson secured at least 40 EDD debit cards in the names of inmates and homeless people. They say she went on a luxury shopping spree, using cards to get cash, jewelry, furniture, and even purchase a Mercedes-Benz SUV. The judge ordering Jackson to pay restitution and return the Mercedes. I'm Phil Farrar.
Well, number one, how the hell do you return a Mercedes? That's what I want to know first off. And number two, how much money does this lady get off of these things? I'm kind of curious because I want to know more. Tell me more. No, seriously, tell me more. Anyways, let's do something a little bit more positive. Let's have some John Smalls come into our life and let him tell us about what's going on with the Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute is courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. They're known for insurance quotes. Today's quote was submitted by Dean. Harvey McKay said, "Always find a reason to laugh. It may not add years to your life, but it will add life to your years." I love this quote. It came to me from a man I really admire, someone who's helped many people get their first job in the broadcasting industry. Now, I never worked for him, but he still helped me in my career path. So, Dean, thank you. And thank you for this quote. I love it. Think about how much better our lives are when we're laughing. One of my favorite sounds on the entire planet is the sound of my wife's laugh and the sound of my son and daughter's laugh. I hope you find someone to spend time with who makes you laugh. And make sure you're laughing with people, not at them. This has been today's Motivation Minute, courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. They're known for insurance quotes. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Dozens of granola bars and cereal products are being recalled for potential salmonella risk. The Quaker Oats Company out of Chicago issued the recall on Friday, advising consumers who bought the affected products to toss them out. They include flavors of the Quaker Chewy bars and puff granola cereal that's sold nationwide. A new study says Americans eat the equivalent of an extra meal every day just by snacking. Scott Carr with details.
Researchers at Ohio State University say they studied data from over 20,000 individuals and found that Americans consume 400 to 500 calories daily from snacks alone. A senior author of the study says it shows Americans are also eating more snacks high in carbohydrates, fats, and sugar, rather than healthy proteins, fruits, grains, and vegetables. Alcoholic beverages and sugar-sweetened drinks are consumed as snacks more often than milk.
Health updates. Sarah Lee Kessler, NBC News Radio.
Radio Big. Streaming 24/7 at radiobig.fm.
Oh, yes, we're streaming all right. Don't worry about that. No doubt that is for sure. So let's talk about it real quick. Let's talk about some things that happened back on this day. Let's take a look around. Back in 2019, the oldest known forest is uncovered by scientists at a quarry in Cairo, New York. 3 types of ancient trees were found. Amongst the scientists called surprisingly modern root system dating back to 386 million years ago. The find, which suggests that the Earth's transition towards forest began several million years earlier than it was believed, and was published by the Journal of Current Biology. That happened back on this date, back in 2019. Let's talk about it real quick. Turning 32 today, Janelle Evans and Jorge Blanco turns 32, both of them. Alexis Sanchez and Paulina Gretzky both turned 35. Ronan Farrow and Karen Beneza turned 36. Jake Gyllenhaal turns 43 today. Warren Sapp, 51. Alyssa Milano, 51. Rosa Bowsey, 51 as well. Tyson Beckward turns 53. Chris Angel turns 56. And Jennifer Beals, Flashdance. She turned 60 today, just in case if you were wondering. That's some birthdays that are going on today. If you're looking at some days of the year to celebrate, well, I have some of those for you as well. It's National Green Day. Yeah, that's one for you. What else do we have? It's also National Hard Candy Day. That's another. And let's see, what else? National Emo Day and National Oatmeal Muffin Day. So if you're looking at some days to celebrate, we got some. Now you have some too. What were you looking for to celebrate? Anything in particular? Are they all kind of the same for you? Anyways, let's talk about, did you know? How important is a good night's rest to you? Well, enough that you would go without internet for a year while giving up access to social media, online shopping, and all your favorite websites. In a survey, almost half of Americans would take that offer if it meant getting high-quality sleep every night. The poll of 2,000 adults showed that 45% would be willing to give up the internet for a full 365 days to help their sleep. 43% said that they would give up their phone. 41% said that they would have to give up their car. And 37% said they'd forgo a promotion at work. And you know that a job that you can't do without using the internet. So let's talk about that. I don't know, because if I gave up the internet, I would be giving up music. And we ain't doing that shit around here. That's for sure. Anyways, if you need a random joke for today, I have one for you. I love Christmas. It's the only time of the year that you can sit in front of a dead tree and eat candy out of a sock. Just saying. If you need a phone starter for today, try this. What is your worst ever Christmas shopping fail? Too many to list, so we'll go from there. If you need a question for the water cooler, try this. 25% of people admit that they're still obsessed with this Christmas tradition. What is it? Ugly Christmas sweaters. I thought somebody was going to say ugly Christmas dates, but that's a whole other story. We'll leave it for something else. What about that rent somebody to come over and pretend to be your girlfriend or boyfriend? Not prostitution. No, that's not what I'm saying about. But, to do the interaction with the family stuff. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, you'll figure it out. There you go. Anyways, that's going to end our time together. Top of the hour, radiobig.fm. If you want to hang out on Safety FM, Sheldon Primus, the world of safety consulting. I'll be talking about music and entertainment on radiobig.fm. Sheldon Primus will be doing safety consulting here on Safety FM. So you have some options. Thank you for always being the best part of Safety FM and Radio Big, and that is the listener, because without you, it makes absolutely no sense to do what we do around here. If I can't leave you with a deep thought for today, I would love to leave you with this. Christmas is not a date. It's a state of mind. Think about that. Anyways, I know who you are.
Duh.
You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
Never felt like this.